Welcome back to Ben's Book Club. Today, we are diving into the book Great Leaders Care. Listen, if you're an overwhelmed manager right now, feeling the absolute weight of your team's performance and their well-being sitting squarely on your shoulders, consider this explainer your much-needed tutorial. We're going to break down Graeme Cowan's newly released framework. And let me tell you, it completely dismantles that old-school idea that you somehow have to choose between driving hard business results and keeping your team sane. Because, spoiler alert, you can and absolutely must do both.
Let's look at a number that honestly kind of stopped me in my tracks. 59%. The sheer magnitude of that is staggering. That is how much higher the emotional demands are on leaders compared to their teams, right? We constantly hear this narrative around employee burnout, which is totally fair, considering like 81% of workers fear they could burn out in the next year. But what about the people at the top of the chain? What about us? Leaders are literally running on empty, absorbing all the stress of their teams, yet getting way less support. And when a leader is operating from a place of desperation instead of strength, well, that's when the whole house of cards just falls apart.
And that brings us to the brains behind this whole framework, Graeme Cowan. Now, this isn't just some dusty academic theory. This is battle-tested. Graeme was a really high-powered senior executive at places like Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, and Kearney. But while navigating these insanely high-pressure roles, he actually went through and survived a severe, multi-year depression. That lived experience, combined with the fact that he's a founding director of the massive Are You OK movement in Australia, gives him just incredible credibility. He built this framework out of pure necessity, to prove that you really can build teams that are profoundly supportive and incredibly high-performing at the same time.
So here's the roadmap for our tutorial today. First up, the leadership paradox. Then we'll hit Pillar 1, self-care, Pillar 2, crew care, and Pillar 3, red zone care. And finally, we'll wrap the whole thing up with the care advantage. Let's get into it.
Section 1, the leadership paradox. Okay, let's dive into this.
To address the massive elephant in the room here, we really have to bust a super stubborn myth. Old-school corporate cultures treat caring like it's this weak, soft skill, like it means mandatory group hugs, lowering your standards, or just letting deadlines slide. We call that performative care, and frankly, it doesn't work. Genuine care, on the other hand, is the exact intersection of high support and high standards. Caring isn't the opposite of high performance. Actually, it's the exact path to it. By providing genuine care, leaders build the psychological safety you desperately need to drive real innovation, make sharper decisions under pressure, and ultimately nail those sustainable results.
Section 2, Pillar 1, self-care. And this brilliantly illustrates our next big point. You know, so many managers feel this tremendous, heavy guilt when they take time for themselves. They view it as selfish. We need to reframe this right now. Self-care is a non-negotiable leadership duty. You simply cannot pour from an empty cup, right? To help you monitor your own tank, Cowan introduces what he calls the VIP framework. That stands for vitality, intimacy, and prosperity. Vitality is your physical baseline, so your health, your sleep, getting enough movement. Intimacy is about maintaining deep, meaningful connections so you aren't just completely isolated at the top. And prosperity? That isn't just about your paycheck. It's about professional alignment with your core purpose. As a leader, you've got to monitor these three areas constantly to ensure you're staying steady and resilient enough to actually lead other people.
On a practical level, Cowan directs managers to find their one thing, basically a daily refuel ritual that restores your energy. But there's actually a much deeper layer to this self-care pillar, and it's radical vulnerability. Think about it. When you, as a leader, practice visible self-care and finally drop that perfect persona, you actively break down the competitive barriers within your team. You stop pretending you're a robot, which gives your team the ultimate permission to stop pretending and just start producing.
Section 3, Pillar 2, crew care. Let's move to Canvas and see how this builds our foundation.
So once your own tank is finally full, your very next job is creating an environment of genuine belonging. This is where you unlock a team's discretionary effort. You know, that magical space where people go above and beyond just because they actually want to? Yeah, the bedrock of that is psychological safety. That happens when team members feel they can be their authentic selves, pitch new ideas without fear, and admit mistakes without the constant threat of punishment. When you build that trust and that sense of, hey, we have each other's backs, productivity absolutely skyrockets. In fact, Harvard Business School's Amy Edmondson, who is pretty much the leading expert on high-performing teams, strongly endorses this exact approach. It is all about building the safe foundations required for teams to learn fast from their setbacks.
Section 4, Pillar 3, Red Zone Care.
Look, no matter how much psychological safety you build, life happens. It just does. Team members are eventually going to hit the danger zone of burnout or a personal crisis. So this pillar is essentially a practical tutorial on how to actively step in and support them. And I just want to pause on this simple three-word question. Are you okay? Cowan actually helped build an entire national movement in Australia around this exact phrase. He proved that having courageous, sometimes awkward, but life-changing conversations starting with those three words can literally change a workplace culture. It's not just some feel-good gesture, it's a legitimate intervention tool. So the crucial point is how you actually execute this intervention without, burning yourself out in the process. Here are 4 concrete steps. Step 1, spot the early signs of burnout. Look for those subtle shifts in a team member's baseline behavior. Step 2, ask, are you okay? But with the genuine intent to actually listen to the answer. Step 3, normalize the struggle. Let them know it is totally okay to not be okay. You're maintaining your high standards, sure, but you're offering high support. And finally, step 4, connect them to professional support.
I want to really highlight that 4th step because it is absolutely vital to avoid falling into the amateur therapist trap. Come on, we've all been there. A team member is struggling, you genuinely want to help them out, and suddenly you find yourself basically doing marriage counseling at 4:30 p.m. on a Tuesday, right? Cowan strongly warns leaders to maintain strict professional boundaries. Your job is to be a highly supportive leader who bridges the gap to professional help. You are not there to become an unqualified therapist. Setting those boundaries protects your employee, and frankly, it protects you too.
Section 5. The Care Advantage.
By mastering these 3 pillars, self-care, crew care, and red zone care, you unlock our final piece of the puzzle. When we synthesize this entire framework, a super clear equation emerges. Care plus accountability equals sustainable high performance. These concepts are not opposites. They are the ultimate strategic pair that reinforce one another. The data literally shows that managers drive roughly 70% of a team's engagement. 70%! When your team believes you genuinely care about them, it reduces liability, cuts down turnover, and spikes innovation. Showing care is no longer just this nice little moral add-on, it is a hard, proven driver of sustainable business results.
As Amy Edmondson from Harvard Business School perfectly summarized it, this framework provides a clear roadmap for creating workplaces where thriving is the actual result. Prioritizing these 3 pillars of care is the bridge between knowing what matters and actually getting out there and doing it. It takes caring from this abstract, fuzzy concept and turns it into your ultimate competitive advantage.
Now, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought regarding your own leadership style today. Are you leading from a place of strength, or are you just running on empty? Seriously, take a hard look at your own VIP framework today. Start with yourself, build your crew, and watch the performance follow. Thanks for joining this explainer, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode.